It's do or die for both the Blues and the Jets. It's Game 7 tonight, 6 p.m. We're going to talk about it all here on tonight's pregame show here on STL Sports. Hope you can join us. If not, tune in later on after the game. We'll be here, hopefully. Should be. Anyways, we're talking Game 7. All right, Brandon, how you feeling? Excited, nervous, confident? How you feeling going into Game 7 tonight?
Nervous a little bit. We've seen St. Louis in this position before. We've had guys that have been here. We've got guys that haven't been here. So it's going to be an interesting game, but I am more or less nervous because we haven't won any games on the road in this series against Winnipeg. Yeah. And even though there's a few factors that are going to be contributing to this that we're going to probably talk about here in a little bit, but I don't know. Part of me is nervous. Part of me is excited to be in this position, but I think it's going to be a very hard, drawn out game for both sides. And if any of the previous games of this series has proven anything, is not going to be it is going to be a very physical game, just like every other game in this series.
Yeah, that hasn't changed from game one. The hit numbers in this series, it's probably easily been the most physical series in all of the Stanley Cup playoffs so far. Out of all the other series, going on, outside of maybe Dallas and Colorado might be up there, but I still don't think it's close to where the Blues and Jets are. So where I'm at with this one, I'm pretty confident. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still floating high a little bit from that Game 6 performance. And again, I think if they can continue to do something like that in this one tonight, I think they'll be okay. I think we'll move on to round 2 to play the Dallas Stars. But that's where I'm at with it. I think I 100% have 100% confidence in Binnington. It's a Game 7 winner go home type of deal. He does pretty well in these. He has in the past, and he has, at least up to this point, he's had pretty solid numbers in this one, I would say. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Just threw me off. I couldn't tell. I thought you were like, my bad. Anyways, how do you feel?
Yeah,
I can't tell if it's mine or
his.
Hold on.
Yeah, I mean he's been Binnington is a better goaltender in this instance rather than Hellebuyck.
Yeah,
just from past experiences of how much each goaltender has let in this series.
Yeah, that's fair, and it's weird. Like this whole series to me has been interesting to say the least. The fact that both teams, both teams have won all their home games so far, a 3-3 split, and it's been, I wouldn't say it's been overly confident wins for the Winnipeg Jets at home. Would you say? I mean, they haven't really dominated a home game. I don't think they have. Maybe Game 5.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think, like we've talked about in previous shows, they haven't really had a dominant performance at home for Winnipeg. It's maybe Game 5, but I mean, Game 5, I would almost put in the perspective of it being a little more drawn out, more on the side of officiating, I'd say, was more given to Winnipeg in that regard. I think if you're not calling the penalty on Sundqvist for the embellishment and a few other stupid calls that were made during that game, I feel like that game could have been a complete 180.
Yeah, and it was a fairly close game up until, back and forth wise, it was a decent game. It was probably the more dominant game for the Jets compared to like offensive zone time and stuff like that. Neutral zone time, it definitely favored the Jets in Game 5 more than it did any previous game in Winnipeg. I got some questions here for you. I'm gonna ask you. We talk about. I can't tell if it's me lagging or if you're lagging. I don't know. It must be him. I don't know. There he is. He's back. Give him a second to get set up here. Go ahead, chime in. Go ahead, throw your predictions here in the chat. Let us know what you think tonight's score is going to be, or give us your unsung hero who you think is going to score the first goal of the game. Anything on that order. Give us your thoughts in the comments. We'll go ahead and we'll read them as they come in. Brandon,
Yo.
what adjustments do you think the Blues make in Game 7? Do you think there is many adjustments? You think they're at Game 5, I'd say at home they sat back on, or last time they were in Winnipeg, they kind of sat back a little bit more than they did in Games 1 and 2. Do you think they make a little bit more of adjustments, or what kind of adjustments do you think they make for Game 7?
I think that we've seen a lot of what they do. Obviously, I think they're going to make some sort of adjustments. They're going to have to. I feel like if they're going to want to win on the road, that's just. I mean, obviously, having defensemen and the rolling with the offense into their ozone, you got to keep a net front presence in front of Hellebuck. Every time at least the last few goals that we've seen from St. Louis have had some sort of net front presence in front of them. I mean, whether it's Nathan Walker, Sonny, Snuggerud. I mean, we've always had somebody in front of the net. It seems like whenever we are able to score, if we're able to do that and shut down the Winnipeg offense, I think we can come through this game with a victory.
Right. I would agree. I think it'll be nice to see what happens here. I think it'll be a fun one for tonight's game. Yeah, I think I agree. I think keeping net front presence in front of Hellebuck, it's clearly worked. Worked in game 3, worked in game 4, worked in game 6. Is you're going to be, but again, is that something you can do on the road? Because we haven't really seen too much of it. When they're in Winnipeg. Winnipeg's defensively, they're a pretty solid group.
Yeah, I mean that's how the label of this series has been. Whether you're home or away, it's always seemed to be the home team that comes out and prevails. I mean, if St. Louis is wanting to come out with a victory on this game, you're going to have to break that streak. But it's this game is going to be a hard fought one. I would say it's going to be low scoring, but I mean, if we've seen anything out of this series, it's anything but low scoring for the most part. But I mean, yeah, if they can keep a net front presence, I feel like if they can really keep this team in check with with Winnipeg, I feel like this game could be a little bit different. I mean, they've always came out and had energy about them when they're back in Winnipeg, and I'm feeling it's just because of the whiteout and their fans that they have in Winnipeg. But I feel like if the guys can tone out everything and get to their game and get to it quick and stay at their game for the entirety of the game, the whole 60 minutes, I think the Blues can make this a different game than what we've seen throughout the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. I would agree with you. You're looking at some things like the penalty in power play, or penalty kill and power play, and how much of a shift that's kind of made over the last, I don't know, 3 games, where the first 3 games of the series, the momentum on the power play was in favor of the Blues. I would say, where it wasn't so much in favor of Winnipeg. It's kind of flip-flopped in the last couple of games. You see Winnipeg now with that little bit of advantage in the power play and the penalty kill for Winnipeg, where the Blues struggled a little bit on the power play of getting things into the net. How much of a difference do you think that makes tonight? Is there a certain team that you feel is going to their penalty kill, their special teams is going to help more tonight in Winnipeg for Game 7?
I feel like, at least for on the Winnipeg side, if they're, especially with being at home, if they're able to get to the power play, I feel like the numbers are going to show a little bit more tonight than what they have in previous nights.
Yeah.
But I feel like at the same time of it all, we've seen St. Louis over the course of the last like month and a half, They've done really good on the penalty kill. Yeah, the last few games have been an outlier, I would say.
Yeah.
But I feel like if they are serious about wanting to improve and move on into the second round, I think coach and the coaching staff are going to more or less. I mean, they've had these sit downs with the team more than likely. That hey, if we are wanting to change how this series has gone, we got to make changes to ourselves on the ice. If
Yeah.
we are able to do that, then that success on the power play that we've had previously in this series, I feel like they can get that back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even on 5-on-5, because we've seen them do so well on 5-on-5
Mm-hmm.
since game 3, game 4,
Yeah.
that I think that's kind of what's been a difference a little bit is like you haven't seen much 5-on-5 for the Blues for the first couple games. You saw that kind of come back in the later games of the series. I feel
Yeah.
like if they're able to keep that 5-on-5 presence going with the power play, I feel like that's where you can see a little bit of a change going into this game because you've seen one or the other. You haven't seen both at the same time.
Right. Yeah. You haven't seen a really good 5-on-5 game with a really good power play game. You've seen either, last 3 or 4 games, or I would say 3 or 4, last probably 2 for
Yeah.
the Blues have been majority five on
Yeah,
five.
because I think the last 2 games, I think they went like 0 for 8 or 0 for
Yeah.
9, something
Yeah.
like that. I know last game they had a abundance of power
6.
play, but
They went 0 for 6 on the power play in game 6. They
yeah.
still ended up scoring 5 goals, and all five of them were on the um, all 5 were on 5-on-5 play,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah, so
nice.
I mean, if they're able to continue that and continue to get that power play success back that they had in the first 3-4 games, I feel like
Mhm.
this can be a little bit of a difference maker.
Which one's more important tonight for the Blues to walk away with the win in game 7, the power play or the penalty kill?
I would say penalty kill because if we've seen anything from this team, their discipline has been kind of faulting, but I feel like that's just comes with the level of play that you're in the playoffs. You're seeing this team now for 7 straight games, and
Yeah.
there are hostilities between the two sides, and we've seen that coming down the stretch. And a lot of emotion is going to come into play for all that. So, if they are able to keep those emotions in check, keep the power play down to a minimum for Winnipeg, that will be a big difference maker, I think. If you can keep a disciplined squad going into game 7
Mhm.
and keep them off of the power play, especially being at home, that will be a big factor, I think, for this game.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the penalty kill with as well as the Winnipeg Jets power play has been working the last game or two. I definitely think that the penalty kill is where the Blues have to succeed tonight. You can go. I mean, clearly they can win without scoring on the power play, but getting stops. I mean, if they wouldn't have let 2 power play goals in the other night, they would have won that game 5-0.
Yep.
You know, so penalty kill at home, or on the road in Winnipeg too. That's going to be important tonight if they want
Oh,
to walk
definitely.
away with a win. So let's talk about Jordan Binnington, and he's played in a lot of these win or go home type of deals already. You're looking at the Stanley Cup playoffs a couple of years ago in 19. It's not the first time they've been in this situation. Did it in the Four Nations tournament, kind of win or go home type of deal, or even championships, deciding games. What kind of can Bennington handle another game 7 like this? I
I
think
mean,
so. I think he's
if
fine.
you ask Bennington, he goes, give me
Yeah.
the challenge.
Do I
He
look
doesn't
nervous?
really give any kind of emotion or any kind of tells
Yeah.
that says if he's ready or not. He's just for Bennington, he has that next level or that next gear. It seems like always whenever it comes to elimination style games or end all be all type games like Four Nations, like the Stanley Cup playoffs. We saw it in the first season that he was with the Blues. We saw it in 21-22 season, whenever they went to the playoffs again. You really saw it in that series against Colorado, I say, unless if you don't have Kadri running into him into the net in that Colorado series, I feel like
Right.
that series would have ended a lot differently
Oh, I think the
than
Blues
how
won
it
that series.
did. Um,
I
but
still think the Blues would have won that series.
I would agree with you. But those are the types of games that you see him standing on his head, doing the things that he needs to do, making those incredible saves that we've seen him do time and time again. These are the games that Bennington and the guys that have been there before live for. And the guys that are just coming into this team, like Snuggerud, Bolduc,
Mhm.
Neighbors, who haven't had these kind of experiences, they're just feeding off of them. And they're seeing like guys like Pareko and Bennington who have been here and who have really had success only in these style of games. They're going to be looking to those guys to say, "Hey, we need the mentorship. We need the every advantage that we can get," and they're going to give it to those guys that haven't been here before and say, "Hey, take the emotion, take the drive that you have. They want to continue to succeed, and funnel that into this game."
Yeah, yeah. Do you think the nerves get to the young guys tonight a little bit more, with it being kind of like the winner go home kind of deal, Game 7? It brings a lot of energy to it in the first place before the game even starts.
I mean, there's always going to be nerves. There's always going to be pressure, but it's what the players do with it.
Yeah,
I feel like if they're going to take it in a positive direction, I feel like they are going to be able to take the nervousness and the pressure and every emotion that comes with these types of games.
mhm,
It's just going to fuel the fire to just want to succeed more.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you there. I think they'll excel more than they will fall. You got a good group of guys: Bolduc, Snuggerud. Um, who else am I thinking of? Trying to think of off the top of my head.
Rookie
Gosh,
wise, or
just in general, like young guys who haven't been in this situation before. Walker, um, Jake
Short
Neighbors,
Shortchenko, he hasn't been in a
Poroshenko.
situation like this. I mean, you got a lot of guys that are kind of newer to this team right now that haven't been there. I mean, you
Yeah,
got Snuggerud, you got Texier has been there before.
has he?
I believe so. Yeah, the previous teams that he was on, I think he has had playoff experience.
I thought he was only in Columbus.
I could be wrong, but that's what
You talk about
I've seen.
Joseph?
I might be. I don't know. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, Joseph is a guy that's been there before. I mean, he was
yeah,
with
yeah, yeah,
the previous teams. I know he's been in the playoffs numerous times. But I mean, all the new guys, they're just going to get the experience and everything from seeing the guys, the veterans in on the squad that have been there before and take note of everything that they're kind of doing and hopefully channeling that to being better in these types of situations like tonight.
yeah. That's that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I think they'll be all right. Like I said, I think they are more likely to excel. I think in than they are to falter. Going into these types of games, what's your biggest concern in this matchup for the Blues? Maybe something you've caught on to the in the previous 6 games that could be the reason why they end up losing tonight.
Um, you know, one thing that I did notice is that you saw a lot of success. I mean, you saw success with the team without him in Game 6, but you saw a different type of team playing whenever you have guys like Tyler, wow, Tyler Tucker in
Yeah,
the mix, and he brings that kind of energy. That I mean, this is his first time too, I believe, in going
yeah,
into the playoffs. So I mean, having a guy like him, I'm not saying that he is going to be the one thing, but one, I mean, we've talked about it numerous times. Is like we have the giveaways, the defensive turnovers, um, those types of things that have led to goals in this series for the Winnipeg Jets is something that this team really has to work on. They're not as fast as the Winnipeg Jets because if you have 50-50 pucks in your defensive zone, and it gets knocked into an open part of the ice, it is noticeable that the Winnipeg Jets are able to get there to the puck before the Blues players are. So if they are able to minimize the defensive turnovers, then I feel like they can control a little bit more of the puck, like on puck time, not having as many giveaways in their defensive zone. Because if they turn it over in their O zone, then Winnipeg has to come back through the neutral zone, get reset up on the attack. And that's something that the Blues have been really good at throughout the postseason, is that they're really good at east-west turnovers for the opposing team in the neutral zone. And even if they do get into the defensive zone, they're able to stop teams from getting set up and getting the puck going the other way in a good transition or good forecheck, to where they are able to get points. And I feel like that is something that we haven't really seen a whole lot in this series, especially when they are in Winnipeg. And if they are able to bring some of that intensity and that style of play to where we've seen it at home, if they are able to bring it to Winnipeg, then we will see a different type of game tonight.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if they bring the little bit of a push right away in tonight's game, you get after it. First thing, you don't sit back and wait for wait for things to happen. You gotta come at it tonight, like from the get go. The Jets are going to do the same thing. They're getting the same kind of talk. They're getting the hey, we're at home. We get a crowd behind us. We go up 1 or 2. This game, like, it's done. We're moving on, type of deal.
Yeah. Now, one thing that you are going to see from Winnipeg that we haven't really seen from them throughout the series, you're not going to have that much. I mean, you're still going to have a physical presence.
Yeah.
Guys are still going to be physical going towards the Blues. They're still going to be there for the forecheck. But the only real difference is you're not going to have Mark Sheffield. And if you, with that, I mean, yeah, you got Nikolai Ehlers back. You got Gabriel Velarde back. But missing a premier player like Mark Sheffield for the Winnipeg Jets is going to be big for this team, because anytime that they've been at home, and Mark Sheffield has been a big part of their offense. Yeah. And that could be something else that kind of turns this game around, because they don't have one of their key guys on the ice.
Yeah, and we saw a little bit of a difference it made in game 6. I mean, you could tell Sheffley's presence wasn't there. And as much as of a big gain is getting Ehlers back, you lose one of your top scoring, top productive guys on your top line there. So it's tough to replace a guy. I mean, it's just like trying to replace Dylan Holloway. You're not going to get the same productivity from a guy that hasn't been there, hasn't played that often, or is in a spot that he's not used to playing in. So not having Sheffield tonight for the Jets is, at least on the blue side of things, it's big, it's huge. I mean, it's 2 games in a row now he's missed, and you've seen the difference in the Jets in the way they played in Game 6. And I don't know if it's due to that, or if it's just due to some of the changes. I mean, they got Velarde back, they got Ehlers back, and having to move guys around, like we talked about the other night after the game, is that not the Blues, but the Jets had to move. Iafallo, who was playing on the first line for a little bit at the beginning of the series, he jumped all the way down to the 4th line. Like that's a big jump for guys, even though we know they're professional athletes, and they're used to being they're used to playing. But when you're playing on the top line or even the second line, you're getting a lot more ice time, you're getting a lot better looks than necessarily you would on the 4th line. Not saying that's bad for the Blues, because the Blues 4th line has had a tremendous night the other night.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess we'll find out. What's the importance of the Blues scoring first tonight?
I feel like if they come out and score first, you're going to have something. I mean, we saw it in game 1 pretty much for the most part. You haven't really had many other games in Winnipeg where you're leading But you saw kind of in game one, if they're with them getting out to a 3-0 lead in the first period, that the game was kind of, it took a little bit of a different dynamic. They got to their game. The only thing that was really different about that game is like they kept to their game for the first and second period. Once the third period got around and we talked about it, it's like they fell apart and they didn't have the physicality that they did in the first two periods.
Right.
And they faltered. They let the Winnipeg Jets come back in the game, and they ultimately ended up with winning the game.
Yeah.
If you are able to do something of that nature against the Winnipeg Jets and keep that going for 3 whole periods, that could be a difference maker, because if you get a couple of goals in the beginning of the game or even in the first couple of periods and not allow Winnipeg to really get to their game that fast, you can get them kind of on their heels a little bit because they're not used to the style that they're seeing from the Blues.
Yeah.
And they can falter like they have in pretty much every game that we've seen them at home in St. Louis. You don't see the type of game that Winnipeg is used to here in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were able to get out to an early lead in Winnipeg, you might see them a little bit on their heels, kind of questioning things, get that doubt in the head.
Yeah.
And you can see something different tonight.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I think getting out to a fast start, quick start, you can get obviously. I mean, you're going to have Hellebuck in net tonight again, I believe, to start is what I've seen. Let's just change. No, yeah, it's Hellebuck to start tonight, which you have to go with that. You have to go with him.
Oh, of course.
Whatnot. You can get 1 or 2 past him early on, take the energy out of Canada Life Center, and keep the pressure on throughout the whole game. It's going to be the Blues will be tough to beat tonight. They'll be tough to beat tonight. You look at the lineup here. You get not a whole bunch changed from Game 6. You got Buchnevich, Thomas, and Kyrou on line 1, Neighbor, Shin, and Snuggerud on line 2. Joseph, Sundqvist, Bolduc on 3, and you got the WTF line. You had a heck of a Game 6, and Toropchenko, Faska, and Walker, and on defensively, defensively you got Cam Fowler, Parayko on the first pairing, Broberg, Folk on the second one, and you have Suter and Leddy on the third defensive pairing with Binnington and net. Defensively, though, is there anything like Blues defensive players wise? Which is there any of them that make you go, crap? Each one of them had positive in the plus minus the other night after game 6.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see any kind of negative with the Blues defensemen right now. I mean, they're all doing their jobs. They're all doing it properly. And I don't see anything really that should be changed. The only difference is I wish we had Tyler Tucker in the mix, but hey, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a thing for tonight.
No, it doesn't sound like it says he's going to be out for tonight's game. We wrap things up here. Brandon, give me your, give me we'll change it up a little bit. Give me unsung hero. Who scores tonight that hasn't scored in a while?
I mentioned his name the other day, and we haven't really seen much from Kyrou. I think if I feel like if you are able to get his offense turning back into a positive direction, I think you see a different level of him tonight.
Yeah.
So if he is able to get a single point or something to start out the game early, I think you're going to see a progressive thing throughout the night to where he's going to get that confidence in his game back.
Yeah, I like that answer. That was the guy who immediately came to my head was Jordan Kyrou. He hasn't had a goal since what, game 2, game 1 or 2. I don't remember. Has he had one since then? Game
No,
two?
game two is just the Buchnevich goal. I think it might have been game
Yeah.
one.
Had to been game one. It was the shoulder snipe. And whatnot. Yeah, I think it's been a little bit since we've seen a Kyrou goal. So yeah, I would I'd go the same answer. I'd say Jordan Kyrou. Jordan Kyrou has to be a guy tonight that puts it out there. I mean, not throwing his contract into things, but you got to score some goals in the playoffs, man. You got to score goals in the playoffs. He's been good. He's been good, but Blues need more. I think they need more production out of him. That'll make them even better of a team going forward. What's your score prediction for tonight before we finish, or as we finish things up here?
I'm gonna go 5-4 St. Louis.
Okay, in regulation or overtime? Please don't say overtime.
No, regulation. I feel like it's going to be a regulation game. We haven't seen a single overtime game in this series, just from the amount of scoring from both of these teams. I feel like it's not going to be much of a. If we do, I think it's because of the level of just the want to progress into the next round, and I think that you may see an overtime. But I feel like it's gonna just stay regulation time victory, or the game will end in regulation. I don't want to put any kind of bad superstition with saying wins or losses, but I feel like the game will be a regulation game rather than any kind of overtime.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot too. I think it could be a high scoring game, one that we haven't necessarily seen. A high scoring game from both teams, something we haven't seen yet. But at the same time, I could see it being like I'm going to go 3-2. I'll go 3-2 Blues in overtime, in one overtime. Give us a little heart attack tonight. Why not? Make the series even better than it already has been.
For sure.
So I say 3-2 Blues in overtime. To move on to round two to take on the Dallas Stars, which that would be a heck of a series too. Any final thoughts?
No, I mean we've covered a lot of what I thought we needed to cover for tonight. Nothing really else that needed to be really said or put into the mix.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just hope for a good game against the Blues and the Jets, and we'll see who comes out with the victory.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be a fun one. Puck drop isn't about, even though it says 6 o'clock, we know it's going to be more like 6:10, 6:09, something like that. So make sure you tune in. You watch on FanDuel Sports Network tonight. It's the last time, if the Blues advance, that you'll be able to do that, by the way. It's also on TBS, I think, and Max tonight, starting at 6 o'clock. Pre-game activity start at 6 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in with us. Again, drop your score predictions, your breakout player, who you think is going to score the first goal, in the comments, in the replies, wherever, and whatnot. And we will possibly see you after tonight's game, hopefully celebrating a Game 7 win. As always, let's go Blues.
Go Blues.